Welcome to another lesson in Paintabilities. We are continuing on this month with a lesson related to the holidays. And today I thought I would share a new style of wreath that I saw a picture of the other day. And so I sought out a few examples and I hope you like this. It's kind of a country flair, but it's using a wagon wheel as a base for the wreath, which I thought was really clever and might be a fun thing to create with a painting. So here is my example of a wagon wheel in a red color. I really like this as a background, especially for a Christmas wreath. We're going to use, in our painting, we're going to use a lighter background, so this red will really pop. And then here you see the example of the wreath picture. These are done by a company called Chloris Crafts. They're available on Etsy as handmade wreaths on wagon wheels, which is, I think, just a really beautiful and clever design. So let's get started. Here we have my 12 by 16 inch canvas. I'm working with Plaid FolkArt multi-surface acrylic paints. I have put out here some wicker white and some medium gray just to start with our background, because we're going to have a light color background, as I said, and that's really going to help our design for our wreath pop on that lighter colored surface, because the wreath's going to have some darker shades to it. And you probably noticed a little dot right here. This is helping me and it will help you too. I found the center of my canvas by measuring down using whatever ruler is handy to you. So this is a 12 by 16 canvas, 16 being this way. I measured down 8 inches from the top and then over 6 inches from the side, and that puts me right dead in the center here. And so that's gonna, if that gets washed away, that's fine. I just was just doing some pre-planning, so I just want to explain why that little dot was right there. Okay, so first thing I want to do is dip my fingers into some clean water and wipe that over the base of my one-stroke painting sponge, and then I'm going to pick up a bunch of wicker white on that sponge, and then I'm going to come over here and just get a little bit of the medium gray, just to give us a little lighter shade of gray tone, okay? And we're going to do some wood graining on this, but first thing I'm going to do is just pull this down to get a kind of whitewashed wood background. Maybe a little bit weathered with that gray tone to it, okay? And pick up more white, a little bit of that gray, and just continue to come down. And we also have a white canvas, so that's helping with the buildup of our background. A little bit of debris on there. And just getting my edges. Okay. All right, so now I'm done with that sponge for the background, but before I leave this, I'm going to take that same sponge and I'm going to side stroke load some white on the front curve of that sponge. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the top of my canvas, looking straight onto it. I'm going to pull down with some pressure to get some board slats here. Okay, you can even turn the brush the other way. So you get a little bit of I'm trying to get rid of that hard line there in the middle. That's better. Okay. All right, then get some more and do another one. And I kind of work that in so it's not too dark. And you decide how many of these board separation lines you want in your design. It's up to you. I'm just going to do a couple more. Super important when you're doing this to make sure you're straight on to your canvas, looking, you're physically positioned straight to your canvas so you can see. And even then I got a little bit crooked, so we can fix that easily. Come over just a little bit to the left and then come back to the right slightly. There we go. And we'll do one more. Not going for perfect with this at all. So if they're a little cockeyed, that's okay too. Okay, I just don't want them real strong. They were coming out a little strong, so I'm just going back over them a little bit just to soften them down. Okay, now I'm finished with this sponge, and I'm going to put this in my brush basin to clean later in the water. Now I want to grab a 3/4 inch flat brush, and we're going to need a little bit of floating medium. I'll put that right up here. Okay, so I'm going to load this with medium, and then we're going to come inside, stroke some gray. We're just going to add a little bit of wood grain to this background. Again, my design is going to take up a big part of this, and then we're going to have kind of a slanted bouquet going across there. So I'm going to really kind of focus any details that I'm going to do over on this upper left side. So we're going to float down, do a little bit of wood grain here. Now that's really strong. So what I want to do to bring that down is I'm going to side load a little bit of white with that gray. Okay, so it looks more in tone with my background color. All right, so now if we come back over this, there we go. We want it subtle. I don't want it real strong. That's better. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of wood grain coming down. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a knot hole here, so we make a wider area like that. I'll flip the brush and do that on the other side. Just apologize for that glare from the medium. I'm not getting a good load on my brush today. There we go. I'm starving my brush. There we go. So then you do a little U shape inside there. And another one there. Okay, a little knot hole. Now, I want to be very careful not to get carried away because these are kind of fun to do, but they don't occur that often in wood. So let's do a little piece down here. And then we'll do our U shape, or it can be a complete round like this. Okay, and then I'm gonna kind of just add some grains. I'm not gonna add any more knots. So we can push down with the brush, come through here. All right, and I'm just going to continue. Medium is your friend in this one. So this is kind of fun. Just be careful you don't make it look too stripy unless you want a very tight grain wood. But most rustic wood is pretty open grain like pine, and so you don't necessarily have a lot of visible grain lines. They're more spread out. And they're pretty subtle too, so make sure you're mixing a little bit of white in with that gray. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and leave that the way it is, and then we're ready to trace out the design of our wagon wheel. So this, I may not have mentioned before, but this is part 1 of 2 for this design because there's a lot to learn in this one. I'm breaking it into 2 parts. And so the first part is going to feature mostly the background and getting the layout of our design and the wagon wheel done. And then part 2 will be all of the decorations that go on our wagon wheel wreath. Okay, so just giving this a little bit of a fan. Now I've taken a 9-inch foam plate. This is a really good size for that wheel because this is a 12-inch wide canvas. And I didn't do a square canvas because I wanted to have some room around the outside of my wreath to add more than just inside the wreath. So this allows me that opportunity. So I found the center of my plate, which is right here, and I punched a hole in that with my pencil, and I'm going to line that up with the center that I found here on my wagon wheel. All right, and I'm just going to line that up with my pencil right there. Okay, and then that's going to help me to center my plate. You can also just kind of eyeball it. It's about 2 fingers on either side, and then it's about 5 tight fingers top and bottom. Okay, depending on the size of your hands, of course. All right, so next I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to go roughly around the outside edge of this plate. Okay, and we'll lift that, and that gives me a really nice size center for my wheel. Now, this obviously the wheel has more than just an outside edge. We have an inside edge as well. So I'm going to come in about, let's say, I don't want to make it too wide. Let's say a finger. All right, right about there. So, and as long as I use that same finger going around my wheel, I should be able to come pretty close to even. The other thing is you can take is your ruler, right? And you can measure from that center again. So find the center on your ruler and the center in your canvas. And then you could measure from there. And then you can spin your ruler, okay? But I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. So just going around every so often, making a line. I want you to feel confident that you could do this without a lot of extra tools, okay? So I know a ruler's not much of a tool, but you know, sometimes we just want to sit down and have fun and paint, and I don't want to have to go running around the house trying to gather up a bunch of stuff to do circles with, okay? So I'll work with what I have. Okay, so back to the beginning. Now with that, then I can just very easily sketch connecting lines to all of those. Okay, so now we have the outside of our wheel and we're ready to now put in all the spokes. So first of all, we want to put a center in here. So I'm going to actually take a paint bottle and I'm going to line that up right here. And I'm going to go around that. That's going to give me my center for my wheel. Okay, now I'm going to use my ruler because to put the spokes in, it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2. So 12 spokes, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. So 12 spokes. So the first thing I want to do is do my cross. Go side to side across the middle. All right. So lining up at the center, and I'm going to do a line there. Okay. Then I'm going to go perpendicular to that and do that spoke line. Okay, now I'm going to separate or set into 2 more segments of this, right? So if I were to take my protractor part of this here and find 30 degrees on that. But so divide it into 3. I'm going to go here and then here. Okay, so that gives me 6, well 8 actually, and then do the same thing for this segment. Right about there. Okay, and then one more. All right, there we go. So that's pretty good. Perfect, maybe not, but close enough. Okay, and then I'm not going to make 2 sides on those because what I'm going to do is just take a flat brush when I stroke these and go the width of the flat brush. Okay, so that's easy enough with that. All right, so that's how you lay out that wheel. Now we're going to go ahead and create the wheel, which also is wood, but we have a darkish red tone to this wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and put out my red colors. I've got some berry wine. And I'm going to use a little bit of real brown to tint that So just a little bit. And then for my lighter tone on that, I've got some engine red. I'm reserving my brightest red for the berries on my wreath. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take that same 3/4 inch flat. And if that's too big of a brush for you, you could drop down to about a 16, but I think I'm going to be okay with this one. So I'm going to load that with the berry wine. All right, and then I'm going to add just a touch of that real brown, kind of work that together. And then we'll come through here, chisel edge the edges of the wheel with your brush. And then fill in between. Okay, and then you work your way around doing that same process. And one thing I'm being careful of here is that I don't leave any hard brush lines in this, filling this in. So I'm just going back over a final time after I fill it in and stroking out, removing any stop and start points that I might have left with my brush. Now, if you are not liking these color selections, if you prefer to have kind of the opposite, a contrasting background against a lighter foreground, then consider doing the background in a darker grain wood, browns, and maybe even a little bit of black might look nice. And then your wheel would be a lighter shade, so maybe the gray, weathered gray tones, or even just a lighter brown. So whatever your choice is, it will be beautiful. Okay, so that gives me the exterior of the wheel, and I need to stop playing with that. Now, I'm gonna let that set up, and while I am, I'm gonna do the spokes in the center. And that'll give that time to set up, and then we can come in and do some wood graining with the brighter red, okay? So I was mentioning that I'm going to use my brush to do the width of the spokes. So what I'm going to do is get the width I want here. That's going to tell me how much pressure to apply to keep that evenly all the way across, okay? And then you just finish on the other side. And that's what we're going to do all the way around. Still working with the same brush load. So it's important now that I just make sure I do the same width every time. Okay. And then same pressure going all the way across. If you need to, add a little bit of floating medium to help the paint move. Work that into your brush. Okay, so see how I get the width, and then you press so that that matches that width, and you hold that pressure all the way across. Oh, that did something a little different there. I think I might have, with the medium, might have overloaded my brush, but I'll try and fix that. There. Okay, and just two more. And the last one here. Okay. All right, so now to finish this up in the middle, I'm just going to go around in a circle following the pattern I traced from the bottle. There we go. All right, so there's our finished wheel shape, and what I want to do now is start adding some wood grains and also a little bit of licorice. I'm going to get out here to do the wood tread edge. And if you're not a wagon wheel person, I did see some others out there that used bicycle wheels, which was very clever, I thought, as well. All right, so what I want to do now is wipe this brush off and get a little medium and pick up some engine red. And we're going to go around this outside edge. I need stronger red than that. And just touch and push. Kind of sputter, and that's not really showing up the way I wanted it to, so maybe I just need to go with the brown. Touch of black maybe. I'm going to be real careful with the black because that's actually doing what I wanted it to, though. A little bit of, so it's engine red with little bits of licorice, and you have to be real careful because that black is very strong. It will overpower any other color. So little sputters on the chisel edge back and forth to help me get a little bit of a wood grain. So hopefully you're seeing that. This is a little long, so I'm going to kind of break this up. Okay, so I'm just continuing to work with that little bit of black and red on my chisel edge of my brush, and it makes a real nice wood grain pattern. And then on the spokes, I'm going to go just along the bottom edge of each one. So just on the chisel edge of my brush, going along the bottom edge of each of those spokes is going to give it a little bit of dimension with a light and dark. Okay. All right, and then on the center, on the bottom half, you can kind of sweep that with dark, that licorice color, and then pick up the brighter red on the other corner of the brush and give a little highlight up there against that dark. Okay. Now you can do a lot more detail on that center if you want to make it look more like an authentic wagon wheel, but to be honest with you, this is going to be covered up with our floral design, so I'm not going to spend any time doing that. Now what I am going to do is continue back with our side load of the black, and I'm going to go around the outside edge of my wheel, trailing that black behind. And because some wheels, or back in the day, some you'll still find have these reproductions. They don't always do this, but they were clad with a metal ring on the outside to help the wood last longer, I'm guessing. Not break up going over rocks and stones and stuff. And so it gets kind of, I don't know if it's cast iron or steel or what. I don't think they had access to steel so much back then. But it gets dark over time. And there we go. Okay, so that gives it just a little more. Okay. All right, so there you have the wheel. Now one last thing I want to do is it has these, I don't know if they're decorative or functional, but a lot of the ones that I saw had, where did I put it? There it is. A little, like a brass button out here. And so I'm going to take a little, I've got some rose gold, treasure gold here. And I'm going to put that out. Not a lot. And I'm going to take a 1/4 inch dauber and load that with that treasure gold. And so right out here at the end of each of the spokes, I'm going to push and twist to create that decorative bolt, I guess, or a rivet. If it served a purpose, it probably was to hold the spoke in place inside the track of the wheel. Okay, and then finally in the middle, we can do a little metallic round right there. All right. Okay, so there you have part 1 of this 2-part Christmas wreath design on a wagon wheel. We've got our wood grain background, and we've got our wagon wheel in place. And so come back and join me next week, and we will finish this design together, adding the holiday greenery and bow to it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.